Good morning, Milwaukee, favorite city in the world right now. Seriously, I do, appreciate being able to speak at things like this. Obviously, thank Creative Morning. I like the theme, color. Color is a big deal. But also, as far as the city is concerned, yes, I do believe this is the badassness of cities in this country for creatives and creative professionals. I also know that 6 years ago, when I decided to quit my daytime job and become a full-time artist in Milwaukee, how many people told me I was absolutely nuts and crazy? And they're absolutely right. It was and still is nuts and crazy, but the growth over the last few years has just been amazing. So really appreciate everyone being here and rah-rah, shish kebab. Yes, Reginald Baylor, that's who I am. Like I said, native New Orleans. It's kind of interesting that that's in black and white. Deliberately. But I think I'm gonna go in, the format when we started talking was to not necessarily talk about anything, but that the questions were gonna be posed and I'm not sure what the questions are. And so I'm gonna move forward and see what the next question is. What is the most intense experience you've had with color? I think, if to be honest with you, I really got interested in color when I was in California. Moved to California, and right after the Rodney King riots happened, I was picking up artwork in Beverly Hills, and I was going on the 401 freeway, and you can see Compton off onto the side, and there were these billowing clouds of black smoke. And they were shooting up from the ground. It looked like palm trees. And at that point, I was like, well, those are now black clouds instead of white clouds. And so I started playing with that concept of taking things that we traditionally believed to be a certain color and inverting it. And so I did a painting called Cityscape with Black Clouds. And that's at the moment where I said, okay, color is relevant, and I can use color simply for its words to make statements about aesthetics, or race, or passion, emotions, things such as that. So I would say that was probably the most intense experience, artistically and personally and culturally, that color started to become a part of my language. I would say this is another great example of an intense experience in color, because at the point in which I was doing paintings, I was working up to 90 to 150 colors per canvas. And when I did this one, I said, okay, I will try and get it down to 25. I'm thinking it's maybe 25 or 30 different colors, which was ridiculously difficult. Not in its process, but I just didn't want to. Why would I do that? The chair should be a different color than the other chair, the desk should be a different color than the other desk, et cetera, et cetera. But then this was, again, an effort to try to memorialize what at the point everyone would always say, oh, your colors are so lovely. No one ever talked about the line, the shape, the composition, the reason for the painting, the concept behind the painting, the meaning for the painting. Immediately, I was just that guy who did really, really nice colors. So there was an attempt there. Are all colors equal? No. We hear primary colors, red, blue, and yellow, correct? Yes. There's mathematically theory, if I were to theorize color linearly, I would say the primary colors are black, white, and gray. And so, yes and no. Gray is the most supreme color in existence. It's the most supreme color in existence. It's the most neutral, it's the most even, it's right down the middle. It's like 0 in a timeline of -1 and +1. -1 meaning white, +1 being black. Gray is the ultimate neutral color. And it's my favorite color. Everything else is infinite. Red is infinite, yellow is infinite. You can never stop. And where is true yellow? And what is the best yellow? What's the best blue? What's the best? I don't think it's possible. Gray is perfect because it is just the exact measurements of black and white. So yes. When I talked about 150 colors, there it is. That was it. That was the most color in a composition that I've done up to the point. And this is one piece that I actually want to recolor. I don't know why, but I do want to. How do you think colors unite us? I think colors unite us like red roses unite us. You see a red rose, and it evokes something that traditionally and has historically, and probably will in the future, remain constant. It has a purpose behind it. I think grass is green, and it's nice that it stays green, and skies are blue, clouds are white or black. It unites us too because it also makes us equal in our diversification of color. We are all the same because we're all completely different. We sort of wipe each other out just by being differently unique and collectively the same. That sounds all heady, doesn't it? Well, okay, let me break that down. My favorite thing when I'm dealing with color is when I side the color, I try to resort back to childhood and look at it as a point when the teacher gives you a box of crayons and you just have to deal with it. And so I think we all have the same box of crayons, you know, and at that point where it didn't take so long to decide if the tree should be green, but if you decided that the tree should be orange, you picked up the orange crayon and you made it orange. And you said, okay, now I'm going to paint the house or color the house. And he's like, okay, you look at the crayons and you go, oh crap, I love this gold. And you pick it up and you start going at it. And that's really tough to do when you know trees are green. And they look like lollipops, but you're told not to make a yellow lollipop tree. Well, I love yellow lollipop trees and purple lollipop trees. I would call this painting the painting that I've been chasing my entire life. I probably did it in 1994. And it's a Milwaukee neighborhood when I was living in California. Drove home for the Christmas season and stuck one of those old disposable portable cameras. And I remember driving up the freeway and I just stuck it out the window and I hit the click. And that was the shot that was taken. And at the point and at this time, for me, it set off some mechanism because I just imagined playing the xylophone. You know, those little toys that had scales on it. The windows reminded me of it. And when I was painting, I saw a man just tapping on the windows and I could hear music. And so that's how I approach it. And this piece was so fun for me as an artist that it did add to the idea of how far can I take color and what can I do with it. And go from there. And so that was a while ago. Because people love it. And the paint store, it comes in color. So when I go to the paint store and I see all those colors, I just start grabbing the tubes off the wall and I take them home and I paint. I don't think it's any different than if you go to Home Depot and you want to paint a room. You stand in front there and you look at all the options. If you're buying carpet, you look at the options. If you're buying a car, if you're buying clothing, I don't care what it is, color is major. Everybody who got dressed today looked in the mirror and like, yep. I'm putting those shoes with these pants on top of this shirt and you go, ba-doom! It's Friday. And you sort of base that off of color. You know, I mean, imagine if eggs were brown. I don't care if they taste good or not. If you saw this gelatinous brown stuff with a green yolk, you know, Sam I am, you know, you go, well, I don't know. You know. The other day I was making I got one of those magic bullet blender things, and you know, and the first time I got, so I started experimenting, and I put all my favorite stuff in there, and it came out brown, and I tasted it, and it was delicious, and I said, that's it, I'm not eating this, it's brown. It's disgusting. But it was delicious, but every time I put my face to the straw, like, ew. So yeah, color makes a difference. Color makes a big difference. So my work, you know, I don't know if, and that's the whole thing, I think you're not quite sure if I know I'm not placating to the audience when I deal with color, but I also know that, like musical notes, that the arrangement of it is necessary to evoke some type of response. Whether you want that response to be painful, joyful, abrasive, or obstructive. And you notice I do reference music a lot. I do think I try to compose my work to sound like a really badass song. Being that I listen to music while I do work all the time, I think that's my level. That's my level. Another example of trying to take as much color out as I possibly could. My first diptych. Selecting color. Again, I pick a number. I always choose a number first. Okay, this is going to be a 60, it's going to be a 20, it's going to be a 50. And then I create a swatch, and I just start pulling from a shelf. Again, looking at the box of crayons, I have containers, probably 300 containers of mixed color that I hand mix myself. And I just go and say, I want this one, this is great, this is nice, this is nice. But then with that too, I'm also conscious of light and shadow. So in a color mix, if I do tend to go with yellow, then I need the hot spot and I need shadow. And depending on how many hot spots or shadows I want are the number of colors I pick for yellow. And generally they don't go over 10. 10 for red, 10 for green. And I also tend to try to take the same number of each color. So if it's purple, I'm doing 5 purples, then I know I need to do 5 reds, 5 browns, 5 greens. It's very logical. It's logical because if I did it emotionally, I don't think I would ever do it. Like, it would never stop because I would change my mind from one morning to the next just because I feel that I'm feeling blue today. And all of a sudden the whole painting's got to be this. Oh, I feel pretty. But you know, you establish those rules up front. You're like, well, despite your feelings, just finish the criteria, what you sort of set up as your toolbox, and don't fish for another set of tools. Just work with the ones you have. My newest. These are great because they're color field and you know, minimalism was you know, Ellsworth Kelly was my favorite because it specifically deals with how color interacts with shape only. And again, it's a very minimal concept. And these are new. These are I actually have 80 already made. I've made these digitally first before they turn into canvas. The beauty about them is, here again is an example of a limited swatch. So I keep the same composition, but then I swap out the colors. And it's amazing how the composition changes when that is blue formatted instead of white formatted. And actually what I like to offer, which is a part of where I think color is also going, is to make it interactive, to make my work more interactive, in which this could be self-colored. There's so many options that I've removed myself from making the choices of color, and this is a series of pieces that are designed to match your sofa. It's designed to match your sofa. You can come in, and if your room is green and you love green format, I don't care if you love green, it doesn't matter. So this could be green formatted, and the person who maybe is interested in the composition can color it themselves. Which segues off into my fascination with coloring books. I've taken most of my artwork, removed all the color, left the lines, and I love watching other people color. They actually do a better job than I do. A retired teacher bought a coloring book, and she did the entire book and brought it back. And I wish I had not seen it, because I felt so low. I mean, I was like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. What'd you do? How do you think like that? You know, and it was also beautiful about it. She did magic marker, crayon, color pencil, chalk, all these things that I was like, no, acrylic canvas. And it was the most wonderful thing I've ever seen. And at that point, I decided to say, okay, you have to let go of color options. Just let it lie. You know, there's the fun part. There's the spontaneity. The color is the only spontaneity part that I get to enjoy in my work. Everything else is, like I said, extremely planned out. The drawing process is not relaxing. It's like an architect trying to build a warehouse. You know, it's all these lines and these compositions, and it's very exact and precise. When you get to the color part, there's whatever, squash it in. There's so many. There's so many. There's just so many. And again, fun to imagine how, you know, take yellow and add one eye drop of white. I love that, and you can't tell that's a different color, but you know it's a different color. And that fascinates me, because you keep adding one eye drop, one eye drop, one eye drop. You did that 100 times on a quart of yellow, that you will be able to see the gradation eventually. But the fact that you can't really visually, but you can numerically, or through measurement, or through math, is fascinating. It's fascinating. So that's just fun. And that whole, the absence of color and the inclusion of all color, and how the eye detects it, is also kind of crazy. You know, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy how, I don't know if factually people know what a fly sees, but I know people theorize what flies see. But how butterflies see color, how we see color, how different mammals see color, how color looks underwater. Those things are all mysteries, and I'm not sure if we're actually supposed to know exactly why and how it works that way, but other than to be able to respond to how it works is also fascinating. You can make choices to move the audience. You really can. Green's really effective. Green is the most effective, I think, color to get a wow factor from someone. I don't know why, but you know, and it doesn't have to be the majority of the color, but it can be a significant base of it. It seems to add to the other experience. To be honest with you, I think it has to do with nature. I think it has to do with nature. You know, that a flower, most flowers have green leaves, and it seems to be a frame for if the flower's pink, yellow, orange, or blue. They all have a green base. So those things I sort of kind of look at. I'm a big fan of custom culture and brands. I love watching how brands color themselves, logos, apps, anything electronic. I watch those colorizations more than I do anything. Only because that has more to do with today's culture. It's a pop culture reference. And I then use that, also being recognized as somewhat of a pop artist, sort of gravitate towards that, obviously, because of Andy Warhol and his craziness. And again, there's another great example of someone who looked at color by keeping the same composition and the same lines, but changing the atmosphere by strictly changing the color of that same composition, and then doing it over and over, repeatedly in different numbers, from 2 to 4 to 8 to 100 to 500, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all the way up to wallpaper and everything else. And so I think he also probably thought little of color as I do, but how significant and important it is. That's such an oxymoron. No importance, but super important. That's crazy. I alluded to, this is a good one to close, I alluded to Cityscape with Black Clouds. And then I also alluded to Andy Warhol. This is Marilyn Monroe as an African American with blonde hair, with a white mold. White. So again, it's just an inverse concept. And at that point, this was the first piece where I started moving away from observational pieces and cities and landscapes, and started getting into contemporary culture, social issues, only by using color. And a lot of those references are in the titles of the piece. Right after this, I did 2 females called Black and Blonde and Blonde and Black, in which the skin tone was the clothing of the other lady, and the hair was the clothing and the skin tone of the other. So they were the direct inverse of each other, using the same color palette. And that became apparent when I decided to start working with people, which I didn't want to put in my paintings at all. And actually, I'm going to remove people from my paintings again because they're so complex to deal with, and they sort of interrupt with the actual visual of an observation to me. Because then people start asking more questions. Why is this? Why are they doing that? Who are they? And all that other stuff. Whereas a bouquet of flowers, you can just look at it. And so, oh my God, those are beautiful flowers. You have a person holding the flowers, and why are they holding the flowers? So get the people out and use the people for other things. But yeah, so yeah, I haven't seen this one in a while. She looks. See, I'm already analyzing what's her name. Who's she talking to? Well, yeah. So that's that. I think that's the last slide.
Yeah. Absolutely incredible. Never thought of red as the most diplomatic color.
Yes.
So just jumping into like a Q&A then. Any questions for Mr. Baylor?
Yes.
You mentioned that you and Warhol share that opinion about color. You mentioned it's not important, but very important. Could you kind of elaborate on that a bit?
Well, is my mic still?
Yeah, you got it.
I'm actually speculating. I'm not quite sure what Andy Warhol thought of color. That's just my observation. Again, my own assessment. Again, only because I just find that this piece could be colored in millions of different ways. I really do. I don't think that was the end-all best option for this piece. As a matter of fact, if I recolored it 15 times, I think I might could make it more interesting. But then only more interesting for what? For what? Maybe my mood that day. 2 years from now, I go, well, that's not interesting anymore. I should have done this. And that's, again, goes back to, I think has more to do with my process. Because if I'm choosing colors, and if the painting has 80 colors in it, if I thought about 80 colors very intimately, I would never pick colors. It would take forever. You know, it's not quite the right light blue. Should add a little more purple into this light blue. Oh my God. I just grabbed the light blue. Get it, paint it in there, finish the painting, move on to the next one. Anything else? Yes.
You know, down some Kandinsky,
Yes.
and I wondered how you experienced that, what you felt after you went through that, or how you viewed it, or inspired by it at all.
I draw more inspiration artistically from music, fashion, and architecture. And artwork, what's interesting, is one that I pass by really quick. When I go to the museum, it's like I'm racing. Like there's some kind of race. I'm like, and I run through it and I see it, but for some reason it's very difficult for me to stand in front of paintings and be contemplative. It's extremely tough for me. You put a set of headphones on me, I see all kinds of things. My imagination, it moves, it expands. And I think maybe it's like, probably like a dentist wanting going to a dentist. You know, you work all day, and the last thing you want to do in your spare time is go to a dentist. I just fixed a lot of teeth all day today. I don't want to sit on the dentist chair and get fixed. I think looking at artwork feels like I'm getting fixed. But Cy Twombly makes me cry. I remember seeing my first Cy Twombly for New York. It was about 5 seconds. I had to leave. I went into the hallway and started. And I don't even get it. I don't even know why, but that guy just freaks me out. You know? But again, that has more to do with line than color. You know, it has more to do with composition. It has more to do with spontaneity, playfulness, letting everything go, no theory, even though it is a theory, but it is the exhibition or the concept of eliminating theory. That's what I do. Because again, if you sort of follow my process, you would see a lot of numbers. You'd see a lot of numbers. Everything's numbered. Everything's structured and organized, and it is not relaxing. My studio environment is not relaxing. Oh my God, I don't want to go back there today. Donuts and coffee Friday morning. That place is uptight. Yes. Yes.
So what do you listen to?
You know, I'm into Nina Simone. Right now, Nina Simone on Spotify or Pandora. On Spotify. You know, the soul music in the 70s and the 80s is sort of next. How's that? It's next. That's my prediction. So next. Well, you know, I mean, hip hop and other rock and roll and a lot of folk music and the hipster stuff. That's great. We've experienced it, but funk, oh my God. And the post-European rock and roll invasion. When rock and roll in the 60s was sort of brought together from Europe, and then America got it back in the 70s with the Doobie Brothers and Sly and the Family Stone and all those guys. Everybody knows that's cool, but wait. It's coming. Bring the funk back, baby. Yes.
So what kind of fashion are you drawn to? Like contemporary fashion, period fashion, high fashion?
All of it.
All of it? Okay. What do you draw from fashion?
The overwhelming ability for so many people to do it well. You know, the people, because it's a part of our culture. You know, it's an experience. You know, imagine if people put as much time into purchasing art as they did in purchasing clothing, and that artists had brands like clothing brands do, and that more malls had galleries in it as well. That people will be a little more broad in their appreciation of artwork. Because I can look at a punk, and I can look at a hipster, and I can look at hoochie, or I can look at any of this, and if you really pay attention to it, it's extremely well done, no matter what the genre is. And I like that diversification, and I love that so many people participate in it. I mean, I'm looking at the crowd right now. There's no blanket statement here when it comes to fashion. Yeah, I think maybe that's it. Maybe it's participation in that industry that's enjoyable. Yes.
I had a question, and actually don't even know what question I'm going to ask, but it's more of an observation. You've talked about how you're really kind of fascinated about how an artist could have a very strong brand, and some of the things, and I've known you for a number of years, and enjoyed having a number of paintings in my office and that stuff. And some of the things that you said today really surprised me in the sense of the role of an artist, and in the sense of picking color and even your brand taste. Because in my view, when people would go buy a Reginald Baylor painting or want one in their office or their home, you know, it was your aesthetic you created, a story that you weaved. But it seems like lately, with some of your more current stuff, it almost feels more like you're giving up control of the piece, and I don't know if it's allowing it to be less of a Reg Baylor, or allowing it, trying to share that ownership and perspective with the purchaser. You know, because of the idea of a painting designed to match your couch. In some ways, it almost, I don't want to say it offended me by any means, but it's sort of like shit, Reggie's got such a strong opinion and such a great story, and, you know, like some of the stuff that, you know, we were experiencing 4 and 5 years ago, it's very different than the stuff today, and I kind of wanted to understand, like, what maybe just what your response to my...
Well, I think I'm making a very fresh artistic statement. I think as artists are supposed to challenge the previous notions of what an art experience is. And what I happen to see is that the audience, artists compete visually. Well, our competition are iPads, cell phones, flat monitor screens, everybody's always like this. So if I'm going to compete visually, then I have to look at today's culture, and I have to then insert my artistic relevance in today's culture. And if I'm going to insert my artistic relevance in today's culture, then it better start getting interactive. Otherwise, we're going to lose, because everybody wants interactive. Everybody wants customization. Everybody wants movement. They want it fast. They want it now. So these practices and these concepts are really based off of the tools that are in existence in today's culture. So I am, yes, continuously, and that's why I'm removing people from my paintings, because I'm going to keep my artwork and I'm going to return back to traditional observational painting, which is what I wanted to get into. I'll leave that to the side. Everything else is going to be technology influenced and interactive influenced. Can you ask 2 questions?
Yeah.
2 questions for the fine gentleman up front. Yes.
Well, I mean, but I guess the question I have back to you is, you know, if people are purchasing art, and I think, at least for me, some of the things that I really love about, you know, your stuff that you were doing kind of maybe 3 years ago was that kind of juxtaposition and cultural commentary, and really, and even you were saying, like, some of your earliest pieces were really, you know, like even like the elements of taking a basketball and making a cube,
right?
And, you know, things like that, and really kind of making a statement. And it feels like with people in your works, you're really driving a stake in the ground and making a statement and maybe contradicting things in a way and making people think or feel something.
Right.
And I guess there's part of me that's I don't want to say concerned, but curious if that feeling and connection to the Reginald Baylor brand that we've known for the last 5 to 10 years continues to be there. If it's and I definitely appreciate your perspective on what you're thinking about with your future art, but where do you ever worry it loses the Reggie Baylorness?
No, because the only thing anyone will see will be from me.
Well,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's still whatever I imagine, it's still mine. Like I look at that, she's not talking. So yeah, that statement to me about race and culture is unfinished because I would actually have her say something right now, and then maybe you can hear what's being said on the phone. Now that acrylic on canvas doesn't allow me to do that. Now animation does. And the fact that Reginald Baylor Animation LLC was established last year, you can imagine how many animations. See, one thing I will not do is get rid of anything that I've done before. It keeps going. I'm only adding different experiences to the brand, including furniture, including clothing, and including design statements. I want to get into garage doors, get into chandeliers, automobiles, chicken coops. Seriously, food. Brands are brands. I mean, holy crap, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. Why can't I have one? And the paintings they're a little slow and they're expensive. And I don't like not including other people in the audience or in the other experience. So the idea of making sure that I have material that is $1.25 to $200,000, that's Baylor Studio brand. And in order to do that, you have to have a lot of different concepts, a lot of different materials, and it has to be introduced in a lot of different ways because people are very, they want what they want. They want what they want. You'd be amazed at how many people don't like my work. That freaks me out. The people who like it, you're like, oh yeah, thank you very much. The ones who don't are the ones that I'm after. The ones who don't. The ones who do, they're like, hey, thanks. Cool, I like it too. Let's go have a drink, talk about something else. The guys go, I don't get it. Well, I figure I just need to present it to them in a different way.
Yeah. So I guess even about interactivity with color, do you, I guess, what objects or things do you wish were more interactive color-wise?
All of them. They're all shapes. Everything I do is line and shape and composition. When you see my work without the color in it, again, it looks like a color. And I get to color all day. Is super easy. Why can't everyone else? Because when I started falling in love and I fell in love with color, everyone in the classroom had the same set of drawings and everyone had the same set of crayons. That's what I'm fascinated with. And that ability to interact with the audience and to experience that process is to me something that I should open up and I don't feel that I should hold on to that as myself, that I'm the one who colors it the best. I don't think I am the best one who colors. Again, the Milwaukee Journal, can I say that? Yeah, they did a coloring contest for the Lakefront Art Festival when they took an image and they printed it in the newspaper. It was a full page. Kids could color it in. I got to judge it, and they got free something for doing it. Again, it was I judged 120 entries that 120 ones were colored better than I could, and that got me thinking. I was like, and I kept going from one page to the next. I'm like, holy crap, I would not have done that. Holy crap, I would not have done that. And this is a 12-year-old, this is a 14-year-old. So how am I supposed to compete with a 14-year-old? Best thing to do is just let it go. Don't even try because I'm 47-year-old and I'm too cynical and too jaded and too complex and too over-theorized to let go of a process that is meant to really just be fun and that there are no right and wrong answers. And I've got to the point where my brand, I feel that there has to be right and wrong answers unless you give it away. You just push it off, let it go, and try and get other people in the process. Now, of course, I have rules. I'm one of those guys like Frank Lloyd Wright. The lines are intact and they have to stay that way. It's like the furniture is screwed to the floor. Plain and simple. I don't care who lives in it. You can cook whatever you want to cook in there, but the lines have to stay. And there's my rules. My lines stay there, and I create the lines. They're there permanently. The color is interactive. So we start eating now, you?
Yeah. More colorful food. So that was a real joy. Thanks so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and by the way, like, didn't have any idea as far as the questions and stuff. I don't know anybody could have handled those so well spontaneously. So one more hand.